Yep, that's right. Go ahead and apologize for all that shit y'all said about me up under y'all breath that y'all thought I didn't hear. Y'all thought I forgot about y'all and I wasn't coming back with no more videos. Well, as you can see, here I am. Now, if you do not know who Knight is, Knight got his start in 2011, and from 2011 up until a couple of years ago when he was filming scenes on Twitter, he's credited for doing 51 scenes. You all, I'm gonna be honest with you all, I think that number is way off. I think he's done a lot more scenes than that, and that's just all they've credited him with. But what made Knight blow up overnight and what just made him so endearing to his fans was that Knight came into the industry, the adult film industry, with something different. I want y'all to go back to the late 2000s, early 2010s. There were not a lot of darker skin tops, like chocolate skin tops with long dreadlocks. When Knight first came out, I couldn't find a decent picture of him when he had dreadlocks, you all. I would have got my page flagged, so I didn't want to do that. But anyway, but Knight had long dreadlocks, longer than mine when he first got his start. And there wasn't a lot of representation of men that looked like that in the adult film industry at that time. So I think because I think his unique appearance alone is kind of what made him endearing and made him relatable to people. And then, he was masculine presenting on film, with his co-star. So that too, is gonna make you a hot commodity when you're in the black gay adult film industry. And number three, what made him so endearing was this mysterious, rumor, what I'm about to post now. His rumored relationship with Romance. Now, I know if you all remember back in the day, when Knight would do a lot of the scenes in production companies such as Breeded Raw, Dog Pound, whatever, he did a lot of scenes with Romance. I think they did well over 10 scenes together. And so people got the rumor from their actual co-stars. So it's not that people speculated that they were romantically together because, they did a lot of scenes together. When people would interview people that worked with Knight and worked with Romance, they would ask them how was it or whatever, and those people would be like, oh yeah, when I got to the set, Knight was with his boyfriend Romance, we smoked, we had a good time, we vibed before we started the scene. So, that's where the rumor, if it's a rumor, they could have been together in real life, but I'm just telling y'all where the rumor came from. It came from people that actually filmed with them, that they were a couple. I don't know. If y'all know for sure, drop in the comment section. A lot of people that worked with Knight have all described him almost exactly the same way to a T, and that is that he's very mysterious. Meaning, they said he hung around the studio set a lot. Before filming, after filming, he spent a lot of time on set with, his alleged rumored partner, Romance. And again, they smoked, they joked, they were relatable, they would vibe and talk with you. But said when they left the set, you never heard anything about Knight. That's why there's not a lot of gossip columns or, think pieces done on him, because a lot of people did not know him outside of the studio. And I think, even on the studio, they said he was very flirtatious and, he was relatable, but you didn't get anything personal out of him. Like, nobody really know anything about his personal life. So they said that, he's kind of labeled to be one of the most mysterious, brothers in the black gay adult film industry. So I have talked about Knight in several of my videos I'm not going to say I talked about him, but I've referenced Knight in several videos that I did about, other adult film stars of that era. So obviously you all know he was one of my favorite, and he was the favorite of a lot of bottoms, from that era. However, that was until he made the tragic mistake that a lot of adult film stars of his caliber make. Knight started to bottom, and a lot of people don't like that. And as I've explained before, people that look like Knight, that are really masculine presenting, tall, buff, darker skin, whatever, if once people typecast you, it's kind of like they do in the Hollywood industry. You're a comedian, right? Or you used to playing in comedy roles. Then you call yourself want to play in a horror movie or a serious movie. People don't really take you serious. They don't look at that as a gift of, this person have acting range. They can do it all. They don't look at it like that. Once a person typecasts you, it's kind of hard to get from how people see you. And people saw Knight as a tall, darker skinned, masculine presenting person. So when he started to bottom, honestly, a lot of people didn't like that, and he got a lot of flack for that. So that's one of the reasons it's being said that Knight did not go as far as he could have, and what kind of started his downfall. Now, unless you've lived your life under a rock, then obviously you know that later in life, when Freak Twitter and, OnlyFans, Just for Fans came out, you know that Knight started to film a lot of scenes were kept secret. And there was a lot of whispers and rumor about that because all of a sudden you stopped seeing him with romance. So a lot of people speculated that they broke up or they had a falling out. I can't find anything that substantiate those claims, so don't ask me about it. But I'm just telling you all, the fans started speculating because, again, Knight was used to filming a lot of scenes with romance, and all of a sudden, he went dark for a while. Now, during that period where Knight went dark, no pun intended, but during that period where, he kind of went dark before he resurfaced on OnlyFans or whatever, it's being said that Knight started his own website. He started his own website because he was one of the hottest, darker skinned, adult film stars in the game. And so he thought that his website was going to take off, and unfortunately it's said that it didn't really take off like that. There's not no reason on why. Like, remember when I did the video about Red, y'all, and I was able to explain to you all why Red's website didn't take off? Well, there is no information on why his website didn't take off, but it's being said that, Knight kind of went into a depression about that. And it's being said that he kind of, resented his later co-star, Kept Secret, because Kept Secret, if y'all think about it, Kept Secret website is hot. He is one of the most famous adult film stars of today still. A lot of people subscribe to Kept Secret's website, but they started their website around the same time, him and Kept Secret, because they were cool in that industry. That was one of the people in the industry that he formed a bond with, and they did a lot together. However, his website just didn't take off like Kept Secret. Here's my opinion on why I feel that is. Because I believe Kept Secret started his first, and he filmed a lot of content with Kept Secret. So a lot of people, they were already subscribing to Kept Secret, and they felt like it's not like you're doing anything different. Like, it's not like you're filming with different people or, doing your own thing. A lot of content that was on Knight's website was very similar to what was on Kept Secret's website. So that's just one of the reasons I'm speculating his website didn't take off. But I've explained to you all plenty of times in previous videos that, starting your own production, starting your own website is not all it's cracked up to be, because there's so many, laws and policies and, red tape that, goes into that, whatever. So a lot of them just not about that life. They think they are, and when they get into it, it just don't work out and pan out in their favor. Now, in recent years, Knight have disappeared from the adult film industry altogether. He's not on Twitter. He hasn't been on OnlyFans, and a lot of people have speculated and wondered what happened to him. There has even been a rumor, and let me be careful with what I say, because if one more ex-washed up corn star get in my comment section getting flipped out at the mouth, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to hold my tongue, okay? Y'all know who I'm talking about. Anyway, with that being said, it was rumored that Knight passed away. Now, by all accounts, I can't find anything to substantiate that. I don't believe the man is dead. I think he's alive and well. I think that it's rumored. Now, there was a rumor that his mother passed away. So, he could have stepped back for that, I don't know. But it is rumored that his mom passed away. And it's speculations on if he's still alive. That's one of the reasons that he stepped away the way he did. But honestly, I believe it was a combination of a lot of stuff. I believe the fact that his website didn't take off, that possibly, could have made him a little bitter. I'm just tossing it out there. And the fact that, people gave him a lot of backlash for bottoming with, Kept Secret. And, like I said, the fact that he embraced his, inner bottom, whatever, I don't know. He probably just didn't like that. Kind of like when I did the video about Fat Daddy, a lot of these people do not like it when you all get in the comment section and grill them because they choose to bottom, whatever. So that could be a reason. And then, like I said, with his mother, with it being rumored that his mother passed away, that could just be a reason we don't hear from him no more. But I think I think Knight is still alive and kicking. I just prayers for him and his well-being. This has been a story of Knight. Drop in the comment section who you all want me to do next.